Hi guys, welcome back to Return of the Nerd. Today we're going to talk about a controversial issue which just will not go away. Cheers. Mark Hamill and his performance in The Last Jedi. This is Luke Skywalker. This will always be Luke Skywalker. This is Luke Skywalker. He will always be Luke Skywalker. This is not Luke Skywalker. Okay? So, Rian Johnson destroyed the character. It's amazing how quickly he did that. It was like an assassination. So Mark Hamill recently was invited onto he had an interview with a YouTuber, a podcaster, and I just can't stop feeling sorry for this guy, because since that movie, it's just non-stop. Like, he's not going to be remembered for the original trilogy Luke anymore. You know, our hero, the guy who blows up the Death Star and then defeats the Emperor and redeems Lord Vader, etc., etc. But he's just going to be remembered now as, oh my God, he's like that old hermit that lived alone on a planet and sucked green alien titty milk. And that awful movie, The Last Jedi, which most people hate, let's be honest. Even the kids that grew up watching that movie and that was their first exposure to Star Wars, most of them are like, what the heck is this? Don't make sense, because that middle film doesn't connect to The Force Awakens or The Rise of Skywalker. There was no collaboration between J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson just was like, okay, I'll fill in the gap, and just wrote whatever he wanted to write. This is the thing. Mark Hamill now is just put in this really awkward spot where he is beloved by the fans. And every time this guy goes to like a Comic-Con, it's always like a really super special event, because he doesn't go that often because he's so famous. And he will charge a lot of money for, you know, if you want to have a picture with him, or you want him to sign your merchandise or whatever it is. Like, it's big bucks. He's a really famous guy. And so every time there's an interview about Star Wars, the person always has to bring up, why did Luke give up? Why did Luke become a hermit and just run away and do that to his friends? So he has to constantly keep defending the character. But I feel we all can see that Mark Hamill was not happy with this. He was not happy with the way that Luke was portrayed. But there's nothing you can say, because this is Hollywood. So you got to be professional. You can't go on TV, you can't go on the radio, you can't go on the internet, on a podcast, and then bad mouth the director who employed you and paid you, millions of dollars to do that. You just can't do it. So of course he has to be really careful about what he says. And recently in this interview, he's going on about, well, maybe again, he's still confused. Well, maybe something really tragic happened to Luke. Like he was married and they had a kid, and there was a lightsaber, just hanging around the house like a gun. I feel like he was talking more about gun control. Lightsaber, he picks it up, turns it on, and he's holding it the wrong way around, and his son dies, and the mother is distraught, and she commits suicide. And I'm like, what? Come on, that doesn't make any sense. Again, he's trying to defend the undefendable, and I feel like it's such a loss of face for Mark Hamill. I feel sorry for the guy, because every time someone puts a microphone in front of him, no one ever wants to talk to him about, tell me about the good old days back in 1975 and 76 when you guys were like in pre-production and like this new movie, and it's going to be called Star Wars, and no one's ever heard of it before. And like, that's what I would ask him. I would never ask him a question about the Disney sequels. I'm not interested. As far as I'm concerned, they do not exist. They are a pile of garbage. I hope that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are not trying to correct this damage, because they've already introduced Luke already so fast. I never thought they would do that. Mandalorian season 2, boom, Luke comes in. Everyone's just like, whoa, everyone's blown away at like how powerful he is with the Force, and like, whoa, this is Luke. This is the real Luke. This is not the Luke we see in The Last Jedi. So everybody's like, more of that, please. And then now we kind of have to fill in the gaps, but everybody's just speculating as to what happened. There's no definitive version of the story from after Return of the Jedi, what happens next? And then we get to the Mandalorian, that final episode where he takes Grogu away. And then we've got like a bunch of scenes in the Book of Boba Fett with Luke as well. And he's starting to set up his training academy, but then it kind of stops, right? And then from there to Luke, you know, throwing the lightsaber over his shoulder, we've got nothing. It's just like, hey, fill in the blank. What happened to this guy? And it's just ridiculous. The story is not following George Lucas's vision of Star Wars. That's not how Luke's character was supposed to be. That's not how George Lucas envisioned Luke ending up. It's entirely possible that George did write, say, 7, 8, and 9 with Luke going off and meditating somewhere and learning more about the Force and getting in touch with Yoda and some Force spirits and reading the Jedi texts and etc., but then coming back. But the whole part of him, like, just something bad happened and he quit and he just ran away and he tapped out. Submit. I'm out of here, guys. You can defend yourselves against Kylo Ren and First Order, but I want nothing to do with that. So I'm just gonna go spearfishing on this island and suck green titty milk. So I kind of feel sorry for Mark Hamill having to just keep going through this all the time, and I also don't want Disney to just ever go there again. They're kind of retconning everything. John and Dave, they're under pressure from Kathleen Kennedy. They're like, you've got to explain to the fans how Luke went from how we see him in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett to this loser who's given up on everybody, even his own friends and family. John, Dave, don't take the bait. Don't do it. Because it will just make it even messier. Honestly, it's already a mess. No matter what story you try to tell, you could say, oh, Mara Jade from the EU. He meets Mara Jade, he falls in love, gets married, he has kids, she stabs him in the back, some horrible tragedy. Or you could follow the comic book where it's, Snoke uses the Force lightning and burns the Jedi temple down. He just burns the whole academy down, and then Ben Solo, he's turned to the dark side. Whichever way you choose to do it, I think fans are like, they pretty much don't want to go there, and they're sick of just talking about it at this stage. Could we just move on? Just move on, and let's just cover something new. Yeah, because this really divided the fan base so badly. And this is the funny thing, right? I've seen Rian Johnson movies. I've seen Knives Out. I think there's actually, isn't there 2 Knives Out movies? And both of them, I watched them and I absolutely love them. I was like, wow, Rian Johnson is a really good director. This is amazing. This is really funny. It's like, if you haven't seen Knives Out, it's whodunit, kind of Agatha Christie murder mystery suspense, and it's got, what's the guy from James Bond? Is it Craig Daniels in it? He's like this French detective, like kind of like Poirot, and he solves the case. But it's really well done. He's a good director, but he doesn't know shit about Star Wars, and this is the problem. It's like Kathleen Kennedy at that time. They just didn't think it through. They rushed. They're like, we have to get a sequel. We have to get it out now. 7, 8, 9. Let's do it. And they didn't respect the original trilogy characters. There was no continuation of the story whatsoever. It just didn't fit. It didn't match at all. And yeah, they botched the whole project. I mean, the whole sequel, the trilogy, all 3 movies are just like a pile of rubbish. You know, bringing Palpatine back as well. Like, it's laughable. Yeah, can we just not go there? I like that Disney is talking about the remnants of the Empire, that, you know, yes, Luke and the Rebel Alliance did destroy the Galactic Empire, but, you know, not in its totality. There's still remnants out there. They still exist, and they could reform. And you've got Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he's come back from the unknown regions of space. And okay, that's all really cool. Let's explore that. But can we not go as far as to going back and have to re-explain the whole Luke situation? Because I think just leave it alone. Rian Johnson, you're a good director, but you don't know anything about Star Wars. And this is the problem when you get people to work on movies like, let's say, for example, big franchises that are based on like epic books like Dune or Lord of the Rings. You've got the Marvel franchise, Star Wars. If you have directors and writers that don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they haven't done their research, and they're not like Dave Filoni, who is like a walking encyclopedia of Star Wars, which is fantastic. Even Dave Filoni, who is a walking, talking encyclopedia of Star Wars, often makes mistakes and doesn't really do that. I don't think he's that great when it comes to, you know, the animation and the live action. I mean, he still has a lot of room to improve. Jon Favreau and Tony Gilroy, in my mind, those two, and whoever was responsible for Rogue One, is it Gareth Edwards? Those guys, clearly, they got the vibe just right. That was the feeling, this like, that's the heart and the soul of Star Wars. Star Wars fans gravitate to those movies and those TV shows. Why? Because they bring back that feeling from the original trilogy and the prequels as well, because they were done by George. Even though I always make fun of the prequels because of all the CGI and stuff and the terrible acting, but it was from George and it was his vision. It's still creative and it still has that Star Wars heart and soul. Do you understand? Whereas the sequels are just soulless. I can't watch them. Oh, anyway, enough ranting and raving for today. Right, I'm going to get my spinny table set up in a minute because I need to... Wait a minute. Come here, Anakin. Here he is. Right, so I got this guy now. Anakin Skywalker from the live action, the World Between Worlds scenes in Ahsoka. I love the Ahsoka series. That was really good. And especially those scenes, because we haven't had any really realistic, gritty Clone Wars live action like battle scenes. And then just seeing him and Ahsoka and the clone troopers, and especially Captain Rex, like going into battle, that was amazing. So I got to open up this guy, and also I got to open up Cody as well, and I'm going to compare him to Commander Bakara. Okay. We're going to have an Order 66 unboxing special. All right. Stay tuned. Stay subscribed. I'm making videos almost every single day because I have nothing better to do with my life. Okay. I'm going to go have some death sticks and chill on the sofa. May the Force be with you always.